For me, actually, the early days aren't the difficult days, because the early days are still exciting. It's, for me, even going to Tesco was so much fun because there was all the chocolates I hadn't seen before and all the biscuits I hadn't seen before and all of these new things. So those days were still fun. It was like, wow, everything's new, and I was exploring and I was doing all of these fun things. It was kind of like a year or 2 years down the line where I actually felt like, oh gosh, I'm really in the trenches here, So I think perseverance is good.
Tess, you've been here for 5 years now.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, what brought you to Ireland?
I anticipated this question, and I thought long and hard about whether I'd answer truthfully, because I know in our storytelling evening, I said that kind of the sense of adventure brought me to Ireland. But I think actually the truth is, I know you came here for love, and your previous guest also said she moved to Ireland for love. But I actually think I definitely moved to Ireland after a terrible heartbreak. And I think I was trying to escape a heartbreak in South Africa and forge a new start. And luckily I did. So I think that is ultimately why I left and why I came to Ireland. And it was good for it.
Yeah, most people, similar story. I moved here for love, and you actually moved here to get away from heartbreak.
Yeah, like a forge a new start.
What can I guess I want to ask, what has actually kept you here in Ireland?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I really loved being here my first couple of years. I learned so much, I guess, about myself. I was traveling a lot. I really enjoyed that aspect as well. My family live in the UK, and quite a few of my friends live in the UK as well. And so really, I guess what kept me in Ireland is that I kind of foresee a future here, a kind of future in this side of the world. And I've really, enjoyed myself. I feel very safe and secure here. I've loved my new lifestyle here. And so I think it's where I really see myself going forward.
And originally you're from South Africa, correct?
Yeah.
So it's a long journey, talking about different climate.
Very different climate.
Right? I guess a different way of life as well.
Yeah.
How have you been able to kind of acclimate to living in the Irish country?
Yeah, so the weather's an interesting one. And actually, I think it plays a much bigger role than people actually give it credit for. So for myself, definitely, I can feel such a difference at around this time of the year, the spring time of the year, when the days get much longer. And I just feel like a completely new person and kind of back to my old self, as I would say. So I don't think one actually realizes how much the weather affects kind of the psyche and all of those type of things, because I can really feel very miserable in the long, cold, dark days in winter. And even when even if it's light, but it just rains for 2 weeks, it's really, it really does get you down. And somehow the locals just seem to cope with it. But I feel like I cope with it a little bit less well. I don't think I've coped that well with the weather or acclimatizing to it. But you do learn to enjoy other aspects of it. You learn to, I guess, make hay when the sun shines and enjoy the long evenings during summertime, because they really are amazing. When it only gets dark at 10 p.m., it's like those are really fun, special evenings. And then sometimes you just have to embrace the cold, dark evenings at Christmas time and enjoy those kind of snuggly moments with the hot chocolates and all of those kind of things.
I guess being so far from home, is there a way that you feel like you've probably made any kind of connections, or you've had an opportunity to build a community here with maybe other South Africans or maybe other internationals?
Yeah, so I definitely feel that it's been easier to make friends with other international people or even other South Africans than I've personally found it to make friends with Irish locals, which is not to say that the Irish locals haven't been exceptionally friendly, because they have, and they've been amazing. But I do think when you're older, friendship circles are already formed. And so it's a lot easier to kind of make friends with people who I guess are also outsiders. I was very fortunate where I originally worked, which is up in Letterkenny in Donegal. There's quite a big South African community there. And so I made some great friends there and I'm still in contact with them, although most of us have moved on to different places now, but we still keep in contact. I've made a few kind of other international friends as well, which is really great. It means that there's always a bed in a few different countries in Europe. And it's really, a great part of traveling and relocating, I think, is making international friends.
A part of that journey of making the international friends, how do you find it maybe keeping in contact or sort of holding on to friendships that you might have had back home? How's that been for you?
It's always difficult holding on to friendships back home, especially at this stage of life, I think, when everyone's got something different going on. And I think, as you know, families demand a lot of attention and it does change friendships quite a lot. So I think those aspects make it difficult. I'm very fortunate in that two of my very best friends that I grew up with currently live in London. And so I see them very regularly. We still keep in good contact, the majority of the friends, but definitely, it's not only distance that changes a friendship or changes friendships. I think, the commonalities change as we get older. I don't know, you sometimes, start to wonder if you'd be friends if you hadn't been at the same school when you were younger. These type of things, which are not nasty things. They just, you think about them, but, ultimately, I'm very fortunate that I have a great group of friends, and it seems that no matter how long time passes, we'll always be able to reconnect. And I think that's the most important thing is that you can have periods of time where you kind of lose grip on that original friendship. But I think the people who were there from the very beginning kind of will always be there.
You're seeing the dynamics have probably changed a little bit, obviously, because of space and time. Yeah. But as far as the connections, I guess no matter where you are, they're always kind of pretty solid.
Yeah, I think for the majority of things, I think if there was any kind of big issues, they're always the people you would at least want to be involved first and foremost, or would support you, or you could go to, I think, other than your family, I guess. But yeah, definitely friendships change and it is really hard. There's things that you just don't have in common anymore. Even small things like your Netflix is different. Even I guess between here and the UK, when I talk about my friends in the UK, your Netflix is different. So you're watching different TV programs, you're looking at different content on Instagram. There's just, the fashion is different, the seasons are different. So it's just so difficult to, I guess, keep up and stay on the same page and stay relevant to each other, I think.
Would you say some of your friends that you've made here kind of have been, I'd say, I don't know how to say, promoted to kind of being friends that you would consider close friends, like some of your friends back home, even though you probably didn't go to school with them or things like that, but there's some friendships or bonds that can be made that can kind of grow into something?
Yeah, I think definitely there's friendships that you make when you're older are also different friendships. I think you can sometimes share different things with those friends, as I said, as you know, I had quite a conservative upbringing. So, that was a very core, I guess, foundation in my group of friends. And so making new friends who didn't have that foundation has been quite eye-opening to me. And I guess I've made friends that maybe wouldn't have had the same kind of conservative background I had. And then we could have different conversations, which has been really fun and really an enjoyable experience as well. I've really enjoyed that. So it just opens your worldview tremendously, I think.
For sure. I grew up conservative too. So I would be kind of the same kind of, meeting people. I would say that probably be a little bit more liberal and challenge some of the things I would have been raised to believe. And I think it is good because you said it opens up conversation. It allows you to see a different perspective and just lets you know that the world probably isn't just so black and white.
Yeah. And isn't as evil as you thought it was.
Right.
Like, you know, people are still good people and all of these type of things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would you say you're still kind of honed on, even though you've traveled, you've lived in different places, would you say you still hold on to some of those conservative values, though, even living in the world you live in today and the environment that you live in today?
That's an interesting question. That's very interesting. Yeah, I would say no and yes. I think I would definitely not consider myself conservative when I was a lot younger. But I think as I'm getting older, I'm definitely erring on the more conservative side, which is quite interesting. But there's many aspects of me that aren't conservative at all. And I would generally consider myself quite liberal. But as I'm getting older, there's certain things that I personally see quite black and white, which I feel has nothing to do with the way I was raised. Okay. So I think that's an interesting question and one that's kind of, I guess, comes up in my thoughts.
No, just sometimes you think like some things that I was grown up on, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know if I really understand the world to be that way, but you're right, probably growing up and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can see why someone would kind of, lean towards a certain side. I mean, again, just being accepting of different beliefs and ideals, but still kind of having your own core belief.
I think it's also difficult these days because I think everyone's trying to force you, or not you, everyone's trying to force you so black and white into conservative or liberal. It's very difficult to just be like, well, I'm just kind of in the middle or, so I also don't want to label myself as anything on that front because I don't think I really fit into either of the categories and I'm prone to change and I have different views on different issues, I think.
I think in America, we'd say you're more moderate than, if you're not conservative, you're not liberal, But we're not going to get into politics.
Not American politics.
Not American politics, especially. I actually want to ask you, talk about your work here and what you're doing and maybe how did you get into the career path that you chose?
So I'm a medical doctor and I wanted to be a doctor when I was very young. Actually, after I watched quite a big humanitarian crisis, I think it might have been the tsunami or something like that. And I decided I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied medicine, which was really interesting and fun and rewarding in South Africa. I did my internship and community service there as well, which was some of the best days of my life, actually, in hindsight. I really enjoyed it. And it was hard. It was really tough as well. There's a lot of things that I think about in hindsight that I'm just like, oh my God, that was terrible. But it opened up many doors. And one of them was the opportunity to travel. So I moved to Ireland on a work visa to work as a doctor. And that's what I'm doing. I'm in general surgery now. I do quite a lot of teaching as well, the medical students. So I really enjoy it. I'm
sure it's a very rewarding career path for sure.
Yeah, it's ups and downs.
Like every job.
Yeah, there's ups and downs with every career path, I think. But I think it's definitely something I love. And it's also very different working here to working in South Africa. So that's been a great opportunity for me to just learn a different way of, I guess, the way the system works and all of these type of things. I just see the resources that people have over here is insane compared to what we have, I guess, in South Africa. So all of these things have been great eye-openers and great learning opportunities for me.
Would you have sort of like, I guess, the similar kind of social, I don't want to say it's social welfare, like the insurance? No.
So I think, in South Africa, there's a very well-established private sector, which is insurance, like I guess would be like the American system.
Yes.
And then there's a public sector, which is the public sector, but it's not the HSC or NHS here are much better run than the public sector in South Africa. So you would still rather be in the HSC or the NHS than in the public sector in South Africa. So, which, I don't know if I should say that on the camera actually, but like, yeah. So, yeah, it's not ideal, but the system here is great.
The American one isn't that great.
Yeah, the system here, I know there's a lot of complaints about it, but it works very well from my experience. And for the majority of cases, patients get great care and great treatment. I think in comparison to somewhere like South Africa, where there is no welfare system, where patients are really, it's a really shocking system. So I think that's been a great learning curve as well.
Would you see yourself doing medicine outside of Ireland or anywhere else? You've been able to see this perspective and that you like it, or like, would you be open to doing it anywhere else? Or are you happy with working, like you said, with the HSC or the NHS system?
Yeah, look, I would be open to any kind of opportunities and career growth. It's always important. I don't think I particularly want to go back to working in medicine in South Africa. It's just very different. I would certainly prefer to stay in a system like this as it goes for now. But yeah, I would enjoy learning somewhere else. And on the flip side also, and I do encourage all my SHOs and my interns that if they have the opportunity to go to a place like South Africa, they actually should, and do a couple of months as an elective there, because it's a really great place for exposure and hands-on learning, and you really get a great training, but it's tough. So.
Wow, no, that's interesting to hear, and that's a nice perspective to see the difference, and to probably give you that balance.
Yeah.
In the way you approach, I guess, healthcare. I want to talk to you about just going back to your family. Your parents are in London, you said, right?
Well, no, they're in Nottingham, but yeah.
They're in the UK. Most international people that live abroad, they probably wouldn't have their family like so close to their doorstep. Do you think that's made a difference in your experience, I would say, of moving abroad? And
yeah, I think it's been really helpful in quite a few ways. So one of the ways in which it's been helpful is that quite a lot of young people in South Africa are immigrating. And I think certainly some of my peers don't want to immigrate because they don't want to leave their older parents alone. And I even see this, we discuss it quite a lot in Ireland as well. The kids want to go to Australia, but they don't want to leave their older parents by themselves. So, and which it is a tough thing to do. And so I feel quite fortunate that my parents kind of went ahead of me and us as siblings. So they didn't ever leave that stress on us. It was like they're going first, and then it was up to us to do the rest. So there was no concern of leaving the elderly parents at home. Not that they're elderly, but so that was the one positive thing. And then it was really helpful having them over here. So I came over during COVID. So the first month or couple of months we couldn't travel, but then there was the common travel area between the UK and Ireland, and my parents actually came and helped me unpack, and they brought over a bunch of kitchen things, and it was really helpful, and I guess a bit cushy. They could just kind of help the burden, or like decrease the load a little bit. So yeah, it made a big difference, and I guess they also just know the way things work a little bit better, and helped me set up some of the basic things I needed to do. And then I guess also it's just nice having your family so close, and like your own bedroom, like my own, like I just go home and my parents would make me tea in the morning, and so yeah, it definitely helped with the burden a lot. And also just, I guess my mum and I would message quite a lot and when we could encourage each other, because it is tough, as you know, sometimes, especially in those long rainy days, and then we can both sympathize with each other. So
no, that's for sure. Like you said, I can definitely understand, like, your parents are getting older, like you want to be there for those years, you want to be able to help them out. Just that, even my own experience, my parents, I mean, luckily it's like a, probably 9-hour total flight to get back home. For me to Houston, South Africa could be like what, close
12,
to 12 hours,
13.
13 hours. Yeah. So nice to have them in close proximity. Yeah. And I think now too with technology, FaceTime and, has made it a lot easier, made it a lot helpful to kind of like ease that. But, I think, it is nice to have them so close.
It definitely, I know, I spoke about having such a familiar childhood. I mean, everything, I knew everyone. We were very like a close knit community and very much in each other's space and in each other's business. But there are pros to that situation. Mm-hmm. And I think there are pros to having parents who really love and care about you, and ultimately being able to go abroad and knowing that you have support and knowing that you're not going to fail miserably and, have to catch the next flight back or something like that. Like, you just have that support. It makes a huge difference, I think. And even just having that support of someone saying you can do it, like it's only another year, or it's only 6 months till Christmas, or just these small things make a big difference.
It does. No, I actually feel that I'm actually a lot closer to my parents, even though we're a lot farther away. But there is something about like, that distance that is like, even from my time living in New York, that I felt that, me and my mom used to butt heads growing up, but like now she's like my best friend. Yeah. Now I call her every day. Same with my dad too. It's like, it's brought us a lot closer, and it's nice too that they can come visit and help to kind of decrease that time. I just want to go back to the expat experience because 5 years, that's a long time. When you think about it, being in a place so far from home, from like, what and if someone is just thinking about moving, not saying even if they're here for like school to learn English or something, is there any like little piece of advice you can share to maybe help make that experience maybe a little bit more sweeter? Or
for Ireland specifically,
or anywhere in general, if you have something you could share that might have helped you in those early days?
Yeah, I think for me, actually, the early days aren't the difficult days, because the early days are still exciting. It's, for me, even going to Tesco was so much fun because there was all the chocolates I hadn't seen before and all the biscuits I hadn't seen before and all of these new things. So those days were still fun. It was like, wow, everything's new, and I was exploring and I was doing all of these fun things. It was kind of like a year or 2 years down the line where I actually felt like, oh gosh, I'm really in the trenches here, So I think perseverance is good. And I think, I guess also having small things to look forward to, especially if it is something like long winter days or short winter days that are getting you down, having the next summer holiday booked or doing these type of things is really helpful. I think if you can, I also found joining so I joined a few gym classes, not the actual gym, which, I did join, but like actual classes where there were lots of other people around, and kind of got involved in the community there. Yeah, I think if you can get involved in the community and find something you enjoy and get involved in that, I think is important. And then I think something else is important that I would advise is just learning about the culture or where you're living. So learning about the history of where you're living and trying to really understand why things are maybe different. And, because things for me that really, I guess, some things that upset me was that the roads were so poor or the infrastructure wasn't great, or these kind of small things that, kind of irritated me. But if you, I guess, learn, I don't know, if you kind of understand the culture, the community, that you're in a smaller area, these are the things that, and then enjoy that for what it is, especially being in the countryside, you just have to start enjoying a slower lifestyle instead of rushing after the big smoke that you don't have. Just, enjoy what is there. because there is a lot there.
I know that the smaller, narrow roads was something that I found hard to get adjusted to. And I didn't think about it when I came. I just like, oh my gosh, like their roads are so small. I was always so terrified. Like, you know, am I going to hit someone or someone going to hit me? Because our roads are so big. And even trying to learn how to drive on the opposite side.
You had to,
yeah, you know, because we drive on the opposite side of the road and the car.
Oh, yeah. So you had to learn.
I had to learn too. Like, luckily, I was still able to drive on my American license for the first year. But it was still like, it was very difficult. I remember the first time I got in the car, it was very scary. But, you know, that's that's the challenge. You have to face those fears to, like you said, immerse, become a part of the culture. My husband made me watch probably like 2 or 3 Irish movies, documentaries before I moved here. And you know what? I'm actually grateful that I did watch it because I didn't even know like this, you know, what went on in Ireland.
Yeah,
and
it's fascinating.
It's fascinating. And I was just like, even taking me up to Belfast and seeing, you know, what happened with the North. Like, there's a Northern Ireland and there's a Republic of Ireland. Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't know too much about that either. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is very valuable advice because, you're moving somewhere and obviously you want to still have your own, you know, identity and keep your traditions, but you still kind of need to, like you said, immerse yourself in that culture and just kind of like persevere.
Yeah, there's a lot to say for perseverance. But also, I guess the other thing is that one lesson I've really learned is the grass is not greener on the other side. And you just have to take the pros and cons and weigh them up for yourself. And really, there's negatives to being here and there's negatives to being where I was from in South Africa. And there's pros to being in South Africa, like amazing weather. And there's negatives and there's pros being here. So you really just weigh up what's important to you and what is most important to you. And that kind of realigns when you're feeling, you know, down or all of these. And if you really can't persevere, then that's the decision you make, I guess.
I think the community part is big also because, you know, it can get lonely even though like I had my, you know, in-laws and stuff and my husband's friends, but it wasn't, I guess you could say it wasn't the community I built for my own, like going to the classes or going to events where you would meet people. And, I think that's going to kind of help you out too, you know.
Yeah.
Creating those bonds, creating those friendships. No, but I really appreciate your time coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Great conversation, and you had so much wealth of information to share. I wish you the best of luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
And I hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.